will say show that we are the LGBT community is the #1 targeted group for hate crimes.
Addressing the issue at hand, a young man lays in a hospital in shame, suffering a full-blown AIDS. His lifestyle choice was having sex with another man. Yes, his partner was at his bedside with pain, sorrow. Their family suffered. Their heart was heavy because of the choices that was made. The saddest day was the day of the burial. How many more will we have to bury because of the effects of choices? Can you not hear the voice of the people of Hawaii, their wise counsel of traditional marriage? By passing Senate Bill 232 as a step to legalizing same-sex marriage, you're extending the same rights, benefits, protection, and responsibilities of spouse in a marriage to partners in a civil union. All of these benefits is entitled to those that are traditionally married. Any benefits to those who choose to have same-sex partnership should be worked on the reciprocal benefit bill. This is not about civil rights. It's about making a lifestyle choice that will affect everyone. That will even affect my grandchildren when they are taught in elementary school. It's okay to have two mommies. It's okay to have two daddies. But when they get home, they only get one mommy and one daddy. And that's how the rest of society lives. So I encourage you, and I pray for you. Please don't pass Senate Bill 232 in your committee. Don't be swayed by the state of Massachusetts, who started down this road only to legalize same-sex.
Providing equality and economic justice for all union members. There's a saying in the union movement that an injury to one is an injury to all. Passing civil unions would help to stop that injury from happening to some union members. We urge your support for this bill.
Thank you. Any questions, please?
First, the advocates of the bill, when given the opportunity, will continue to force their views upon others, which will in turn shut down freedom of speech and freedom of religion, not only to adults, but to the youth, as my views and beliefs are challenged and questioned. In addition, the process to campaign and encourage teachings about the homosexual agenda in schools forces students to learn the details of homosexuality and all that it applies. This would add on to the distractions and to the pressures of the students in the midst of an already inadequate and deteriorating educational system in Hawaii that the legislative body cannot even fix. Lastly, as a future parent, if this measure is passed, it will erode parental rights and undermine the building block of society, which is the family unit, both of father, mother, and children. Families have always had the right to direct the upbringing and education of their children, yet if this legislation is passed, parents will no longer have the authority to raise their children the way they see fit, teaching their children what is right and what is wrong, and or opting out of specific classes that contradict their moral beliefs. Anything goes. In the end, if this bill is passed, it undermines America's marriage tradition, as well as, most importantly, corrupts the spirit of protecting the ohana now and for future generations. I thank the committee for taking the time to hear my testimony.
Thank you, Lee. I would ask of you to restrain yourself if people speak in a manner which you are opposed to or in strong support of. The hearing, I think, has been well conducted, and I'm grateful and appreciative. So with that, we'll continue on, and I want to thank all of you again.
Thank you, Senators. My name is Hector Hoyos, and I can't very well be here today without mentioning my character that fights for civil rights, Sister Face. I come to you as Hector as a partner of a person of 12 years, and we've actually been together longer, about 15. I come to you also today as someone, as a gay member of your society here in Hawaii for the last 2 years who has been going through a very rough civil rights battle against retaliation because of my sexual creed, because of me, who I am. What I am is not a gig. I was born this way, and I love my man even better than my parents loved each other. And because of that, my parents respect me for the last 15 years, when their marriage only lasts 7. My dad was a Vietnam vet. He supports me completely. I cannot tell you what a battle it has been for you all, for me, for everyone in this room. The hate that comes up to the podium is put in nice little sentences that are wrapped up. It doesn't make sense. I support this bill for one reason. Our children, the ones that are younger than us, The ones that if you don't pass a bill like this to try to work things out in the future, our community will never come together. It will never build bonds that it needs to. I will never be able to adopt when I can give a loving home. I really just pray that you support this bill, not just for me, for these people, but for the youth, because if you don't, it's kind of supporting bigotry, and it's just going to allow people in school to become bullied even more. And that's what happens when the government makes such choices and they don't protect the people. People will get bullied and things will allow to go, and it will become worse. I thank you, Senators, very much.
I stand here by the grace of God, because when I was a teenager, I tried to end my life not once but twice, because I am as gay as the day is long. I stand here before you as a child of God, with divinity singing in myself. The far-reaching implication of this is that, and I don't envy your position, is what you're saying is it's okay to be gay. Well, we can argue that until the cows come home. But we are all in agreement of the fact that it's okay to love. Are we not? And it is love that decides who loves love.
Thank you.
I'm a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, the father of a gay son and a straight daughter, the vice president of the longest parent, family, and friend support group in Hawaii, P-Flag, Oahu. I'm here to assure you that finally granting the rights, benefits, duties, and responsibilities of civil unions will not destroy my marriage of 46 plus years. I served our country so that everyone in the United States can be free. Yet after 23 years in the U.S. military and 21 years in serving the people of Hawaii as a civil servant, I am still working for my gay son's freedom and social justice. My son deserves all the rights, benefits, duties, and responsibilities of marriage. So I don't totally support civil unions because it is not full social justice and equal rights until the federal government recognizes the civil rights of marriage for our LGBT and questioning students. I guess civil unions is the best we can do. Today, I ask that the best possible legislative action be taken, and that is to pass Senate Bill 231 and 232. I thank you for your time. Aloha.
Thank you.
Carl Harris, it was a choice that they made. It's like you chose to become a senator. I used to have a cocaine addiction. It wasn't my right, but I chose to do that. And so, what I want to say is that it's by choice that we do things. And then I also heard that they said that
I think many heterosexual people realize how often their marital status is called is assessed and responded to in daily life. I find myself frequently having to explain to people the rights that we don't have, and that we try to get by circuitous means, by their reciprocal beneficiaries, by contracts or wills that we try to get by second-hand adoption. That's especially relevant for us. My partner's pregnant with twins, and when our children are born in July, I will have no rights to them. It doesn't matter that we've gone through this process together, that we've planned and saved and done fertility treatments together. When they're born, if something should happen to them, if something should happen to my partner, I have no rights whatsoever to protect them. And it's only through a number of months and a social worker we happen to get and a judge we happen to get that if a second parent adoption will be granted to us. So for my own sake, I hope that you move this effective date up so that we can have a civil union before our children are born. And I just want you to know that protecting our relationship protects our family and our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Galbert.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, colleagues, as you know, I've been involved in this issue for over 20 years. And I would like to commend the audience. The testimony, for the most part, was done in a civil manner. I would have to disagree with those who were accused of somehow bigot, homophobe. This issue is not about bigotry or homophobia. I know that some people in our state have grown weary of this cultural battle and just want to pass this as quickly as possible so this issue will just go away. It seems to be set up perfectly for the passage of civil unions this session. There appears to be a solid majority in the legislature, and there's a new governor who has promised to sign a civil unions bill when he gets to his desk. But I ask you to pause for a moment and to consider the fact that passing the civil unions bill will not end this debate. We all know that civil unions has not been enough in Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, Vermont, New Hampshire, and California, where gays and lesbians have gotten the courts to agree that you cannot have civil unions on one hand and marriage on the other. So we can be sure that as soon as the governor signs SB232 into law, if he does, there will be a challenge in the courts. This will force same-sex marriage on the people of Hawaii, who have consistently shown their opposition. One of the arguments that I've heard consistently over the years is from parents, tax-paying parents who object to their children being taught in taxpayer-funded public schools that there is no difference between a traditional marriage or same-sex marriage or civil unions. What will win out? So-called marriage equality or parental rights? Am I exaggerating? It's a fact that in 2003, Massachusetts legalized same-sex marriage. In 2006, the federal court ruled that because homosexual marriage was legal in Massachusetts, that schools actually had a duty to normalize homosexual relationships to children, and that schools have no obligation to notify parents or let them opt out their children. It is patently unfair for taxpayers who send their kids to public schools, taxpayers who bring their children up with a certain set of values, that these people are being indoctrinated into a value system that is diametrically opposed to what they are being taught at home and in church. It's been a long hearing, Chair. I, for one, have thought long and hard about these questions. And you bring up elections. I've polled my constituents on this issue consistently, and it's been over 70% who have opposed civil unions. And I guess you could call my winning my election in that district the poll that counts. So I thought long and hard about these questions for many years, and you voted no, and I ask you and our colleagues to join. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Make a comment about the early statements regarding security. I certainly disagree with the issue that was created here for additional security and using the Tucson tragic events to bring to bear in our capital free and open discussion of this issue or any other issue. I think that this was over-exaggerated, but that's just my point of view. As far as the testimony today, I think if we needed to underscore the point that for 10, 15 years we've been engaged, or longer, in this debate, that the objective has always been same-sex marriage. And even though people have at first said, oh no, that's not what we want reciprocal beneficiaries. Oh no, that's not what we want domestic partnership. I think it's been made clear today that that always has been, still is, and will be the overall objective, same-sex marriage in the state. And in fact, if you take Senate Bill 232, as you did with HB 444, and just substitute the word marriage for civil unions, you'll find that it is the same as in our statutes today. I think that it's unfortunate that this has been such a very divisive issue, and still is. such a long period of time. Because when the Reciprocal Beneficiaries Bill was passed, many of us were told in the legislature, that's what we needed, that's what will solve the problem. Like so much other legislation, we found in practice, however, there were pitfalls, there were loopholes, there were mistakes in that body of legislation. And my position has always been, let's fix that law, let's do the things that people ask for, let's make sure that people do have access to certain legal remedies and so forth. But that's entirely different from mixing it up with the issue of marriage. In addition, my position, which has been clearly stated for many decades now, is that if I had my druthers, the state would not be involved in the marriage process whatsoever. But it is. It is. And so we are forced and compelled to look at this issue, as we do with other issues, to be as fair as we can, but to listen to all sides. And in fact, there are more than two sides to this issue. Many of us have been watching the pro football playoffs, and we notice that there are more and more challenges and more instant replays. In order to overturn the decision that's made on the field, you've got to have more than just compelling testimony or thoughts. You've got to have overwhelming evidence that changes that decision. That's how I look at this issue in terms of traditional positions that have been taken and that exist in our community. I, for one, have not seen a reason to believe that this, in fact, is a civil rights issue. And I think that there are court cases which substantiate this. But we can argue about it, and we can disagree about it, and that's part of the democracy that we are celebrating today. Unfortunately, I see by a lot of the testimony that has come in the past and has come in today, that there are people that would like to politicize this issue more. We've gone from the idea that people said this is about love, this is about relationships, to raw political power and political activism. And I think it's unfortunate that a lot of people in the religious community have taken some of the positions they have, but they have done so only because some of the very same people in this room have appeared to launch an all-out attack against religion at every step of the way, including lifestyle. I particularly find it really difficult listening to people that have used inflammatory language, such as lynching, and such as open season on certain people. The idea and the issue of bullying and harassment is a very serious one. We have passed legislation against it, but what it shows is that oftentimes you cannot legislate morality. You can't force people to do things. But the bullying and the harassment goes far beyond the issue of one's sexuality. And we should all be opposed to that, as I am. In addition to that, I think it was unfortunate that people have used the suicides of young people in this political manner. I've known people, and I've known families that have had teenage suicides that have had nothing to do with their sexual orientation. And to use this, I think is just plain wrong. Again, we should use all of our resources to find out why young people and other people are troubled in our community. And to the extent that these hearings and this issue has taken over and taken so much time and so much of the resources of the legislature, when it clearly is something that is not going to be resolved. It may be resolved by a vote today and ultimately by a vote. But we're denying the vote of the people. That's the real vote. We have a lot of people. I look at individuals, and there are many in this room that I highly respect. I look at them as individuals and look at what they bring to the table. Not about their sexuality, not about their political position or their political party. And yet I think too much has been made of this in this attempt. So for these and other reasons, I will continue to vote in opposition to this bill and believe that what we really should do is to get the legislature moving on those issues that apply to all of us, regardless of our sexuality or our political party. But again, I want to thank the chairman. I think the committee and the hearing process has been fair and open.
Equal rights for civil union couples are long overdue, and I'll be voting for the bill. I do have one reservation, and that is I would prefer that the bill be effective July 1. But I believe that this bill as it stands would need some more language in order to avoid having rules and regs drafted. So I will be, I think that can be considered later on.
Anyone else? Any further discussion? Before calling for the vote, I want to again thank all of you. But I want to make a comment with one of the previous speakers with regard to security. I said this at the outset, I'll say it in closing, that this committee and its chair in particular is grateful to the governor's office and the sheriff's department. While it may be easier at this point to conclude that it's over the top, I suspect that we may feel differently had other circumstances occurred. So I want to thank security to our left and right and security in uniform. If no further discussion, Senator Shimo Guru, will
Thank you. SB232 passing with amendments. Chair has voted aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Gabbard?
No.
Senator Ihara?
Aye.
Senator Sloan?
No.
Mr. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
So they're going to move it on to the Senate floor now. Wow! These are some fabulous people that have worked very hard. Yes, you all, take a second. You're going to be on Sister Face's page. Don't try.